Now that we've taken a look at measurements, let's open a couple of pages that we have in Chapter 2, and we can see exactly the difference between a liquid and a fixed layout. So I'll go to File and Open. And inside of Chapter 2, I have a fixed sidebar.html. And I'm just going to hold down my Command key on the Mac, and it would be your Control key on the PC. And we're going to also open liquid sidebar.html. Let's take a look at our liquid sidebar.html first. Basically what these are a CSS starter page. Just so that you know where they are, let's take a look. So if I go under File and New, I get this screen up. This screen is great. I'm able to choose a new HTML page from here, CSS, ActionScript, PHP, .NET, Cold Fusion, etc. If I choose HTML from here, I'm also able to see a layout. In my layout, I'm able to see a bunch of different types of files that I might want to open. So for instance, I am going to just click once on 2-column fixed left sidebar header, and then we see a preview over in the right column as to exactly what that is. So I see that it's 2 columns, all widths in pixels, left sidebar, and it's going to include a header and a footer. Underneath that, over on the right column, I see that my doc type is going to be XHTML 1.0 transitional. It's a drop-down menu, so I can always change that. Next is my layout CSS. Now this is actually fairly important. This is by default going to add the CSS to the head tags of my page. The problem with this is that it's going to be on that page only, and if I copy that page and create another page from that page, then that is going to have that inside of the head tags as well. So for instance, if I change the H1 on my first page that I enabled, then if I don't change that on the second page, then I will have a different look and feel to the H1 tag from one page to the other, and that's not necessarily something that we would like. So I'm going to say, instead of add to head, I'm going to choose create new file, and that way it will create a new external linked style sheet, and then I don't have to worry about it being specifically to an individual page. Then I can make the changes, and it could be 1,000 pages of a website, and I could change the font in just one place for all of those pages. That's the beauty of CSS. I can also enable in-context editing from here. Now, we really haven't talked about in-context editing yet, but basically it's a way for us to enable a place, instead of an actual template, a place that our client can then edit particular parts of our page. So if we don't want the client to worry about the navigation or any images on the page, we can just enable particular sections of the page to be in context editing, and then the client is going to be able to edit that themselves. Click on Create. I need to decide where I'm going to save this. So instead of the actual name of this, I'm just going to choose fixed.css. If we fold open our files and I'm able to see all of my files here, you'll also see that I have a folder called Assets. Now, Assets is just a way to organize things, and if I double click on that, then I can see that I've got several other files now inside of that one. It's really all about organization, and we'll talk more about how to lay that out effectively in just a little bit. But basically, I have a CSS folder, a Flash folder, an Images folder, and a JavaScript folder. So double-click your CSS folder, and we'll go ahead and save that inside of there. Now that I have my page here, I need to make sure and save this first so that the CSS is also then linked to this particular page. If I start making changes in this page, then my pathing to that CSS file is not going to be correct. So we'll say File and Save, and I'm just going to call this Fixed as well, and we'll just leave it in Chapter 2. So when I'm using a CSS layout page, let's take a look at split view first. And I'm just going to scroll down just a tiny bit here so I can see inside of my head tags, instead of all of my CSS in here, I have it linked. So I have a link file. It has where it's located at, my assets, CSS, fixed.css. Over in my panels, in my CSS panel, I'm going to fold up my insert panel and fold out my CSS panel so I can actually see what that is over here. So now I can see that I have